All right, so we're going to go ahead and call Senate revenue to order. I don't know if it's Madam Secretary, please call the roll, or a gentleman secretary, please call the roll today. I have two.
Senator Dennis.
Here.
Senator Ratty. Senator Kiekeffer.
Here.
Senator Sievers-Gansert.
Here.
Chair Neal.
Here. Okay, thank you. Before we begin, I would like to explain how virtual committee meetings will work. It's continuing that the legislative building is currently closed to the public, so all committee meetings will be held virtually, meaning committee members, staff, and everyone else will participate either through Zoom, video conference, or by telephone. However, there are various ways members of the public can engage with us and participate through the process. As in previous sessions, all committee-related information is available on Nellis, which is accessible from the legislative website. When you are on the phone line, please pay attention to the bill that is being considered and follow the verbal prompts provided by BPS staff so that you know which keys to press to raise your hand or unmute yourself. Staff will call on you to speak by the last 3 digits of your phone number, and detailed instructions for participating in committee meetings are also available on the help page, which is linked in the banner at the top of every page on Nellis. If you need assistance with any of these processes, or if you would like to receive electronic notification of the committee's agenda and minutes, please contact our committee manager at the committee email listed on the agenda. Today we have one bill, and it is by the Department of Taxation, which is SB 25. We will open up the hearing on SB 25.
Greetings, Chair Neal and members of the Senate Revenue and Economic Development Committee. My name is Melanie Young, Executive Director for the Nevada Department of Taxation. With me here today, I have Chief Deputy Shelley Hughes and Deputy Director Terry Upton. We are here to present SB 25, which revises the provisions governing the determination of whether food for human consumption is subject to sales and use tax. The Department of Taxation is requesting to repeal language in statute that is no longer relevant since the department joined on with streamlined sales tax. At this time, I'd like to turn the time over to Chief Deputy Shelley Hughes, who will go through the provisions of the bill.
Good afternoon, Chair Neal and committee members. My name is Shelley Hughes, Chief Deputy for the Department of Taxation, and I'm here today to introduce SB 25. Just one second. All right. SB 25 repeals NRS 372-2841 and 374-2891. Currently, NRS 360B 110 requires the Nevada Tax Commission to enter into the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement and to take any other actions reasonably required to implement the provisions of the agreement and adopt necessary regulations. Additionally, NRS 372-284 and the identical provision found in NRS 374-289 exempts food for human consumption from sales and use tax. However, excluded from this exemption is prepared food intended for immediate consumption. So in other words, prepared food intended for immediate consumption is subject to sales and use tax. Lastly, NRS 360B 460 defines prepared food and is consistent with the definition in the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement. The department has also adopted NAC 372-605, which is consistent with the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement, and it provides guidance on how to determine when food is considered prepared food and thus subject to tax. This bill repeals NRS 372-2841 and the identical provision in NRS 374-2891 and thereby eliminates the language that directs the department not to look at the type of establishment where the food is sold when determining the taxability of the food sold. NRS 372-284 and NRS 374-289 would remain in place to provide that prepared food for immediate consumption is taxable. And NRS 360B 640 will remain in place to provide the definition of prepared food and thus provide guidance as to what food is subject to tax. This bill becomes effective upon passage and approval. To provide some background, Nevada became a full member of the governing board of the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement on April 1st, 2008. The purpose of this agreement is to simplify and modernize sales and use tax administration in order to substantially reduce the burden of tax compliance. This includes having uniformity and consistency in sales and use tax laws among the states. 23 states are full member states and have adopted the measures in the agreement. Sales and use tax provisions relating to food are set forth in the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement. Nevada follows these provisions, and as mentioned previously, they are included in NRS 372-284, NRS 372-289, and NRS 360B 460. The department has also adopted Regulation NAC 372605 based on the Streamlined Governing Board issued papers and interpretations. The department most recently adopted Regulation LCB file number R056-18, which is based on Streamline's interpretation number 2006-04, dated April 18th, 2006. The department would like to repeal NRS 372-2841 and NRS 374-2891 because these statutes predate our adoption of the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement and are no longer applicable in our determination as to whether food is intended for immediate consumption, because we now follow the provisions that are found in the agreement. Consequently, these statutes are no longer relevant. Furthermore, no other Streamlined member state has statutes with language found in NRS 372-2841 and NRS 374-2891. In addition to these statutes being no longer applicable, leaving those statutes in the NRS leads to confusion in the industry because we cannot provide guidance on our website, in our publications, or in our industry trainings to specific establishments as to when that establishment food sales are taxable. NRS 372-2841 and NRS 374-2891 prevent us from referring to the type of establishment when discussing what type of food is taxable. We have researched other states, both members and non-members of Streamline, who provide guidance by establishment as to when food is subject to tax. Arkansas has a food guide and a list of examples of food items purchased at your local grocery store that are subject to the state sales and use tax. Additionally, this guide provides examples of when sales tax applies to common food transactions at grocery stores, convenience stores, concession stands, and fast food restaurants. Indiana has a sales tax information bulletin that indicates a number of items sold by grocery stores, supermarkets, and similar type businesses that are classified as non-taxable food items and taxable food items. Maine, while not a member state, has a publication that includes a quick answer chart that lists the type of retailer and what items that retailer sells that are subject to tax. Washington has a publication for restaurants and bars that indicates which food sales are generally subject to tax. Wisconsin provides sales and use tax training for grocers, which includes determining which foods sold at grocery stores are taxable as prepared food for immediate consumption. If NRS 372-2841 and NRS 374-2891 are repealed, we can provide clarity to establishments on which of the establishment's food sales are taxable. Pursuant to NRS 372-284, NRS 374-289, and NRS 360B 460, we would determine when food is prepared food for immediate consumption and therefore taxable, and then replicate other Streamline member states' guidance and training, making Nevada consistent with how other states operate. NRS 372-2841 and NRS 374-2891 were added to the NRS with SB 238 in 1999. At the time, there was an issue on determining when food was subject to tax. For example, restaurants served food for immediate consumption, So restaurants were being taxed on their sales of food. However, grocery stores were not being taxed on their sales of food because food purchased from grocery stores were taken home to prepare and serve at a later time. In the minutes of the Assembly Committee on Taxation dated April 20th, 1999, and the Senate Committee on Taxation dated February 25th, 1999, testimony was provided by a pizza parlor that sold frozen pizzas. The owner came forward to testify that he could not compete with grocery stores because his food sales of frozen pizzas were being taxed where grocery store sales of frozen pizzas were not. The legislature recognized the unfairness in the tax application, and as a result, the statute was put in place that required the department not to look at the type of establishment to determine the taxability of food, but to look to whether the food is intended for immediate consumption. As mentioned previously, since the enactment of NRS 372-2841 and NRS 374-2891, Nevada has joined the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Governing Board as a member state. Furthermore, the legislature has enacted NRS 360B.460, which defines what is prepared food. This statute contains the requirements as to when the food is considered prepared food and thus subject to tax pursuant to NRS 372-284 and NRS 374-259. As a result, NRS 372-2841 and NRS 374-2891 are no longer needed. In summary, we request that both NRS 372-2841 and NRS 374-2891 be repealed because these statutes predate Nevada's adoption of the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement, which requires the department to base the taxability of food on whether the food is intended for immediate consumption and not on the type of establishment where the food is sold. Thank you for your consideration, and with that, I'll give it back to Director Young.
Thank you. For the record, Melanie Young, Executive Director for the Nevada Department of Taxation. This concludes our presentation, and we are available for questions.
Okay, thank you, Director Young. And Ms. Hughes, members, any questions? Okay, that would be no. All right, then. I think you guys did a really good job of putting stuff on the record, so it's pretty simple. So we will go ahead and open up in support for SB 25.
If you would like to testify in support of SB 25, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 700. You please state your name and spell it for the record. You have 2 minutes. You may proceed.
Brian Wachter, BryanWachter, on behalf of the Retail Association of Nevada. Thank you to Madam Chair and members of the committee. We are in full support of Senate Bill 25. We believe that remaining in compliance with the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement is important. It maximizes our economic development, and this also simplifies and modernizes our tax code. SB 25 makes Nevada a lot easier to comply with, more efficient, and more clear. We want to thank Director Young and the Department of Taxation for making this a goal and a priority at the department. And we specifically want to thank you, Madam Chair, for representing Nevada at the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Board of Directors. So we would strongly urge your support for SB 25.
Okay. Thank you for that, caller.
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open. However, there are no more callers in the queue at this time.
Okay. We will open up for anyone in opposition for SB 25.
Again, Chair, the public line is open. However, there are no callers calling in to testify in neutral or opposition at this time.
Okay. And we will open up for anyone in neutral for SB 25.
Again, Chair, there are no callers to testify at this time.
All right. That's awesome. Who can complain about cleaning up the statute? All right then. So we will go ahead and close the hearing on SB 25 and open up for public comment.
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open at this time. However, there are no callers.
All righty. I don't think anybody's waiting out there for prepared food discussion. All right then. So everybody have a good afternoon. We will adjourn a Senate revenue.
Congratulations on an